Thank you very much. My name is Miles Perkins, and here to talk a little bit about virtual reality in sports. One thing that I just kind of want to do is take us on a little bit of a journey of where virtual reality comes from and where we sit right now. I have to say, things are changing at a rapid pace for this medium. It's something that I've been paying attention to since the early 90s, but I've been very excited about some of the things that have been happening recently. So kind of where does this whole thing come from? So VR, first of all, it's very difficult to do. It's had a mainstay in military research applications. I first came across it, again, in the early 90s, having to do with academia. It was always about some sort of a CG experience that you would have. So the technology for capturing live action, though, kind of wasn't there. It was too difficult. It was difficult enough just to capture a 16 by 9 or a 4 by 3 at that time. So gaming was the natural outlet for it. Thinking of this, we have the high-end PCs, a tethered headset, and you have these handheld controllers and things like that. So kind of fast forward, what is going on right now? What is it that has people like Mark Zuckerberg or John Carmack so excited? Why do people think that this is here right now? Well, what that really has to do with is it has to do with the mobile device. So in the early 90s, what I saw was a $30,000 headset, a one-of-a-kind headset that they wouldn't let me touch, connected to a $100,000 computer over in the corner. We go to the Oculus, and we have there a $300 device, still tethered to a PC. But what got all of us so excited? Well, it's that next thing. It's the simplicity of cardboard and your cell phone. What is in your pocket? Each and every one of you have this in your pocket now, something that is naturally designed for VR. So what is it about this? It has a display. It has the potentiometers in it. It understands where you are. The gyroscope is in there. It understands exactly where you are, and it has a great graphics processor. So all of a sudden, you have something here where Google Cardboard comes around. Just recently, Viewmaster launched their Viewmaster device, which you can put your phone in. Any kid can have it. Any adult could have it. I have 4 or 5 myself. And you put your phone in and have a VR experience. So, smartphones. Right now, we're sitting on about 1.7 billion smartphones out there. 1.7. And by 2020, we're looking that every literate human on the face of this earth will have a smartphone. So the growth is absolutely astounding. And even when you look at smartphones versus consumer PCs, you can see that growth. So this is what is happening right now in this space. You look at 2014, Gear VR, Cardboard comes out. 2015, you start seeing all of these different headset devices that are happening. In 16, we're going to see Oculus come out with their consumer play. The PlayStation VR, HoloLens is on the map. You have all of these different things that are happening concurrently. So the one thing that is missing in all of this is content. Where is the content that it's going to feed? Because it's not going to be games. It's going to be the cinematic VR that I'm talking about. So in terms of capture, what's going on in that space? We know how we consume it. What about capture? So there are consumer cameras that are out there that anyone has access to. It creates a monoscopic 360-degree image. You have the cinematic camera prototypes that are out there. Some of them start to get into a kind of Frankenrig kind of thing. And again, this is all very difficult to do. At Jaunt, we just launched our own camera, which is a camera called Jaunt 1, and it's in production now. And basically, this camera is built from the ground up for virtual reality. So we're starting to get this deployed out in areas. And now, what does this camera really do? So basically, what you're doing is you're stitching together 24 different cameras that are seeing 24 different things, but there's overlap. And so you figure out between each one of the cameras, okay, what is the color? How do they come together? And more importantly, how do they come together in three-dimensional space? This is our solution to this. Instead of having a pair of cameras looking one way and a pair of cameras looking the other way, where you have a blind spot in terms of 3D, computationally, we're figuring out what your right eye should be looking at and what your left eye should be looking at, which gives you a sense of depth. It makes you feel like you're there. Additionally, for us, what we believe is really important is the sound. So when I hear something happen over here and I look there, it needs to be there. You mix in that same way. So when you have headphones on, something happens here, you turn around, it's there. You feel this sense of presence when you're there. So in sports, what can we do with this? So I have to say, sports coverage in general is fantastic. I mean, if you look at what happens in American football, it's covered in just to the T, and absolutely an amazing experience. But there are some applications for this, for virtual reality. What about behind the scenes? How can I get to really understand an athlete? I mean, athletes, first of all, we were talking backstage, a true athlete, for someone who's a fan, you don't understand the difference between a true professional athlete and your average Joe. It's a huge difference. And how do they prepare for that? How can I actually have that experience? In VR, you can. We can see training. We can go into the locker room. We can see what happens on the sidelines, the highlights of the game. We can also look at post-game. How do people recover? So it just brings the audience that much closer to the actual experience. So VR is going to have a place. It's not going to replace. That's just not happening. It's giving you a completely different experience. VR is not television, and it is not the movies. It is its own medium. So one of the things that we're trying to do is we're trying to get and figuring out where these applications make the most sense. So this is the Jaunt 1 at one of the Mets games just here recently. And so, you know, giving you the experience of being on the field. You just have to figure that where that camera is where you are as a consumer. You get to experience batting practice. You get to experience what it's like to be behind the plate. I had an experience recently where we had some NFL football players. I put on a headset, some linemen, and they were getting ready for the game to actually understand how large these men are and what they are doing and how agile they are. This just does not come across in a 2D space. This is something that this experience, when you have it in VR, you're that much closer. So this is another application for VR in sports. So naturally, something that is in a confined space that normally you're going to see as a member of the audience, to have that better than front row seat, to have a seat that is going to place you in the audience, yet right there by the side so that you can see everything that happens. You can hear, you can look to the side and see the different celebrities that are out there. You can understand exactly how fit these athletes are. But not only that, you can start to serve up different looks at things. And you can do this in the virtual reality space. So a lot of questions are now asked about, can I do this real time? There are some people who are making some strides at doing this in real time. It tends to be a 180 degrees, so that you're looking from left to right. It also tends to be a little bit more of a monoscopic view, not stereo. But we are going to get there. It's going to happen in the next year or two, where you're going to start to see three-dimensional, that sense of depth. You're going to have the sound. It's going to start to wrap around. We just need some things. We need computational power, which we know accelerates year upon year. And we also need the bandwidth to be able to deliver that to consumers. Again, this is all stuff that a lot of people are paying a lot of attention to. We understand that the distribution is there in the smartphones that people have in their pockets. It's a natural place to go. The other aspect of this as a marketer is you also understand where people are looking. So you can serve up, if you want to serve up a value add, or there's a piece of advertising that you want to be able to place, you know where people are able to look. And you're able to put those things in that space. Things can be saved, things can be shared. It can turn into a social medium as well. So immersive branding experiences, this is another great thing. So just think, we're used to looking at something in a 2D space and selecting what we want. But why do you have to do that? Why do we have to sit there and select as if we're selecting from a screen? You don't. You can put something on, you can look in an area, choose it, go down further into it. So you can have these branded worlds which provide you with the kind of experiences that you want. So it could be two-dimensional imagery, it could be your regular 16:9 that's floating in the space, or it could be complete other experiences. But as you see here, here's an opportunity to actually really brand that experience. Whether you're a team, whether you're an athlete, whoever you are, you're able to get in there and really control the experience of your fan. So the thing that so I had this experience recently, not in sports, but I had an experience where I went to a band. And we recorded this band, and it was so packed in there that I couldn't get to the front of the stage, so I hung out in the back, and I had a great experience with my friends. And then I went into the office 2 days later, and since we'd recorded it, a friend of mine put it on my head, and I looked at this, and I had the experience from being on the stage. And now my memories are actually of both. It's both of being in the back of the room and also of being on stage. Now, I clearly understand that I was not on stage, but it just evokes that kind of memory. It makes me feel closer to the lead man in the band. Same thing here, where you can relive the experiences that you've had. Clearly, I'm a 49er fan. So, re-experiencing the catch over and over and over again. These are opportunities that with VR, you can give to fans, and they can collect them and have them to enjoy. So what next is on the horizon? So headsets, they are going to change. The branded cardboard is one thing, but we're going to start to see a lot of innovation in that space, where you're going to have headsets that are simply like glasses. It's going to be something that is just going to be ubiquitous. It'll be connected to your cell phone or connected in some way, but you'll be able to have these experiences in a very comfortable way. So increased quality. Now, one thing about cell phone manufacturers is they love to sell you things every single year. I buy my new iPhone every single year because they tell me that it has this feature or that feature. Well, virtual reality is now here, as we're seeing. So the thing that I expect to see is mobile devices who actually drive the display technology are going to start driving that. They're going to start seeing, we've already started seeing 4K screens. You're going to start seeing 8K screens. You're going to start seeing all these things which are going to make this experience that much more immersive and that much more, giving you that much more of a sense of presence. So broad adoption, that's the one thing that we're starting to see now. So what we're seeing is a lot of 360 video. So you've seen recently there have been a couple ads that have been done. Facebook has their 360, YouTube has their 360. Another application of the same technology, it's just monoscopic. So it's just going to be a little bit of a shift between looking on your computer or looking on your phone that way, and then just moving up to your head just a little bit. So we are anticipating a pretty significant explosion of virtual reality experiences. Some good experiences, some bad experiences, but the force behind this is significant. And in each vertical that we're talking about, there is a clear application for it. So beyond that, then we start moving into augmented reality. where we're adding different features or able to walk around a video experience of an athlete. So in all, virtual reality in sports is something that is going to allow the fan to have that kind of connectivity with the athlete, that kind of connectivity with their team, that kind of connectivity with the brand. It's something that we're extremely excited about. I think, half of the things that I've been saying, I always like to say, are probably lies because no one knows what the future is with this. The thing that we do know is that it's here, and there are going to be some great storytellers. There are going to be some great brands. There are going to be some great teams that are going to figure this out in such a way that it's just an excellent experience for the fan and for the consumer. We're also already seeing things in training that's happening with some of the athletes so that they can have these experiences, see what it is down the field, and be able to repeat that experience so that they know what the play is. So again, I think my time is just about up, but virtual reality, I think, is something to pay a really close attention to. And if you learn nothing else today, is know that virtual reality is in your pocket. Something that's worth noting also, the New York Times next week is going to put out 1 million cardboard devices. 1 million are going to go to their subscribers. So again, this is something that is going to become pervasive. It's here, and I want to thank you guys very much for having me.